Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney,
And I'm MK.
and how are you?
It's been a while. But before you went away to San Francisco, we talked about how I was trying to get rid of my tickets to the theater
Mhm,
because I was upset about missing the Halloween party.
mhm.
But I am so glad I didn't.
I told you it was an incredible show.
Incredible. Like, just, I mean, it was a biopic jukebox. Like, it wasn't like the most creative, innovative thing I've ever seen. But
But it told her
uh,
story
it told her story so accurately,
so accurately.
so well. But Naomi Rogers, who played Tina the night I saw it, oh, like
I remember who I saw. I saw her right after it opened here. I saw it pretty early on. So I don't remember who I saw.
I don't know how there weren't two Tinas on Broadway because when we had it, we had two that like rotated because it's so fucking difficult. I don't know how Adrian did it 8 shows a week. There's no way.
Yeah,
It was, and the guy who played Ike was scary good.
mine was too.
Oh,
They've done excellent casting for that show. Like,
so good. And I knew Tina's story.
mhm.
Dan knew that Ike and Tina was like a volatile relationship, but he didn't know how bad their relationship was. He was squeezing my hand so hard. He was like, I'm
Oh,
sorry. I
Dan.
can't believe that. I was like, but it was so good.
Poor sweet Dan.
I know.
Yeah, ugh, I love it. It's like, and you get like a mini concert and a show. Like
Which I will say, it was long,
it was very long. It's very long.
very long.
Yeah.
But also, I also felt like I was being edged a little bit because they kept starting "What's Love Got to Do with It" and then not actually singing it, and I was like,
Fine, fine.
"It's okay." I'm trying to think. There was one song that I forgot was hers in that show, and I can't remember what it was. But
I was gonna say they do the same thing with songs in MJ.
oh, where they like start it, but then not really. Oh, it makes me so mad. I'm like, no, I just want. I mean, I'm not singing along because I'm not singing along because I'm
Right.
not that asshole of the theater.
But
But
you
like,
sing
I
in your
just,
head, you can like
hmm
feel it.
yes, yes. So that was so so much better than I thought it was going to be, and
Been telling you for years.
I know.
I love it so much.
And then when I worked the closing show for the loadout, my boss didn't even make me stay till 11. He came in early so that I could leave early.
Oh, sweet.
Right?
Ugh, love that.
It was great. It was great. And Dan did not dress up as Rory because he's saving that for next year now when you do it for real. But he was Martin Short's character from Only Murders in the Building with his brother and
Stop.
sister. Yeah, so my his sister Meg was Selena Gomez, and then David was Steve Martin, and he was Martin Short.
That's so cute.
Isn't it? It was
Oh,
adorable. I
I
was
love
like,
that. Did he post pictures on the social media? Or do you have a
absolutely not.
picture?
I have a picture. He did not post pictures
I
on
would
social
like you to
media.
send me a picture.
I will
So,
send you the I will send you the picture.
yeah.
But like I said, he has literally only ever posted one picture on Instagram in the
Right.
entirety of having an Instagram.
I'm
So
familiar with that now that I followed him. So,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. How are you?
Well, similar vein, I'm gonna mostly talk about some horror stuff, but I
Fantastic.
do want to note, oh my gosh, if I can find, I have so many notebooks beside me right now. It's like unreal. So we're gonna start with San Francisco, and this is kind of my wrap up of my trip. Um, so I flew JetBlue, and they didn't have Dexter on there, so I just had to watch whatever they had. They had like 12 thrillers, so I was like, great, I will watch some thrillers. So I watched Bodies, 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 which is the new film with Pete Davidson.
Hmm.
Fine.
Okay.
I watched Get Out finally, which is incredible.
You hadn't seen it yet?
No, because it wasn't available for streaming anywhere, even to
Oh my
purchase it for a
God,
long
it's so
time.
good.
I could only buy the film. I couldn't like rent it on Amazon for the longest time. So
I
finally,
must have watched it in Thailand because I don't think I paid for it.
it was incredible. So
Yeah,
good. And
so
then I
good.
watched something else that I've already forgotten what it was because it was not that memorable. And then
Mm,
I also watched the movie The Watcher. Not anything like the House movie that just the show that just came out, but
mm.
it's also a new film um about a girl who's basically being watched and it's serial killery and it's a little slow moving. It was fine, but
Okay.
like I knew what was happening the whole time. It wasn't like nothing surprised me. Um, but yeah, so I watched a lot of new thrillers that I'd never seen before, which is always fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also in San Francisco did this super fun thing. Well, I did a couple of stuff for my writing group. So like for my writing personally. I went to this writer's cafe, which is a really dumb way of saying cafe, but I keep saying it that way to annoy people and now I can't stop. So I'm so
It's
sorry.
perfect. That's fine.
And then I went to the Beat Museum, which was very I spent an unreal amount of time there. It
I
is
love
not that
it.
big and I think I was there for 2 hours. Like
I love
it's
it.
like 2 rooms. Um I was just like I couldn't stop reading about everyone. Um, and then I went to City Light Books, which is going to come up again in this episode when I talk to you about it later on, but not now.
Okay. Okay.
And last but not least, I did a murder mystery dinner for the very first time, and I did not solve it because it was very hard, but it was so fun. I did solve like who that like the way this murder mystery worked was like the actors were in the crowd pretending to be like just people that were there to like for the murder mystery dinner. And so
Yeah.
they were meant to like throw you off and not make you think that they were actors. So I did figure out like 90% of who the actors were around the room.
Mm.
Immediately figured out the two actors that were at our table. But I figured out a lot of the other ones. But I didn't figure out the solution. But I highly recommend. And they made us come up with a fake name for our name tag because we're all
Of
suspects at
course.
this point. And so I used the name that is the same name I used to submit my final paper for law school, which just so happens to be Amelia Pond. So it all comes back to Doctor Who.
Uh,
Uh,
which tune in on Sunday. Tune in on Sunday.
okay,
Well,
I'll
because
be
I
there.
have, well, you'll be there, but for our listeners, if you want Doctor Who content, tune in on Sunday.
I've watched this episode and I do not know what's happening.
My life, not in the episode.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I was like Sci-Fi Sunday. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Great. I will also tune.
Great.
Can't wait to hear.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
Um, but today, in the non-spirit of horror, do you have an uplifting enough spiritual?
I sure do.
Thank
Really
you.
like that one. You know, I'm really excited about these cards, but last time I did one, last week it was fuck yes I can. And that one I just pulled was fuck yes I am. And I was like, that's
Mhm.
too much. That's
Yeah.
not good enough.
Also, just realized you did not bring me my cards.
They were in my car.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you waiting for? Get out there and fucking do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love
Yes.
that. Love that. So, you know what else I love?
Couldn't be Bates Motel.
I mean,
I mean,
couldn't it though? Bates Motel. And this week we are watching season 4, episode 4, entitled Lights of Winter. Is that right? Did I get the right title?
you did. You did get the right title.
I read it
That
like
face
4 times. I was like, did I do this right? I
that
really
face
don't
was
like
more about the fact that, and I did say this to Courtney before we started recording. This episode of Bates Motel was a Hallmark movie, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I also don't know why, but there's a lot of newness happening, so that very well could be why.
Okay.
Um, it aired March 28th of 2016. It was rated 8.3 out of 10, which is fine. I think even being out of our typical Bates
Yeah.
rating, it's still a good episode.
No, I still liked it. I just was confused.
So I think that's an okay rating.
Yeah.
The number one song is Still Work. The number one movie is still Batman versus Superman. The number one book, however, is Private Paris, written by James Patterson and Mark Sullivan. I have not
Okay.
read this book. I have, of course, read some James Patterson books. They were all fine. He is not my number one favorite writer that everyone seems to think he is, but I do enjoy his books from time to time. But I found people that write the same genre that are way better. So,
That's
you know,
that's
he just
so
got there
fair.
first, I guess. Um, Anyways, and then I don't have a lot of things happening because it was a lot of war, as we
Mhm.
mentioned quite a lot. But it was Teachers' Day. It is Teachers' Day in Slovakia on March 28th.
Yeah.
And this particular day, um, Peggy Fortnum passed away at 96, and she was the first illustrator of Paddington Bear.
Oh, I love her. That's so sweet.
Isn't it?
In my life, in March of 2016, March 27th, not 28th, because 28th I couldn't find what I was doing, probably working or being really hungover and missing work. I don't know. It was the weekend of my birthday in
Right.
Disney, but it was also Easter weekend.
Mhm.
And Montana and I went to the Crystal Palace for Easter
Ooh.
breakfast. And I had reservations for 4 people, but only Monty and I got off of work, so only Monty and
Oh,
I went.
bummer.
And we had a Easter breakfast at the Crystal Palace with the Winnie the Pooh characters. And I said something that Montana has said to me on multiple occasions on Easter since then because she thought it was the funniest thing I've ever said. We were literally just sitting there eating, and I just go, Jesus died for these mashed potatoes.
I mean, that sounds fair though.
Right. They were fucking good mashed potatoes. So probably while this episode of Bates Motel was airing, I was wishing I was still eating mashed potatoes.
I think that's fair. I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I am 2016, still in law school,
Yeah, you were still in law school.
still studying for finals. Not a lot's changed in my life. Probably. I don't know what day. Sundays? Dates come on Sundays?
The 20th was a Monday,
Monday?
which is weird because I thought Bates came out on Sundays before, but no, the 28th was a Monday because I had Easter breakfast on the 27th.
Right, right. I don't know what I was doing on Monday. I'm sure I was panicking about the rest of the week. Um, but that's fine. And then yeah, so we have a new director.
Okay.
And if he's not new and I've talked about him before, let's all just pretend I haven't because I meant to look it up and I'm pretty sure I haven't talked about him before.
Okay.
His name is TJ Scott.
I have not heard that name before.
Great, excellent. We are all on the same page then.
Good.
He is known for Star Trek Discovery,
Oh, okay.
for Gotham.
I might have heard that name before, not from you, just
Right.
because at Discovery and Gotham, I should have heard that name before.
Spartacus,
Okay.
Departure, a new show that I've become very fond of, The Cleaning Lady.
I have seen trailers or like in commercials, and it looks so good.
It's so good. I did a cold pitch for them and they didn't pick my songs yet, but it's fine. Um, I was very excited about that because I love the show and I love the way they do their music in that show. And the reason you would have heard this name is because one of the other things he's known for is Hemlock Grove, our long lost show that has been buried.
Wait, he
Never been
directed
done.
for Hemlock Grove?
It was like down the list. So he may have done like one episode or like produced an episode or something. I didn't like look to see what specifically did, but it was towards
Okay.
the end of his list. So he was
Okay.
one of the major players or anything.
Huh. But now I'm gonna feel stupid if he
It's
directed
a long
it.
time ago.
Because I know, but I was the one who did all the
Look,
information for
I
that
just
show.
told you I may have said this name already. Don't remember. So like, and I've only been doing this show for a much shorter time than you
Good.
did Hemlock Grove.
Fantastic.
Um,
Fantastic.
but yeah, so he like adds a new spin on our show, which is also why it's still very confusing because none of these shows feel like they're similar to what I watched today. Um, and he was also married to, did you figure it out?
He did direct for Hemlock Grove 2 episodes of season 1. That
I
was
told you very long
so
time ago.
long ago.
Yeah. He was married to Victoria Pratt for 16 years. They got divorced around this time of the show airing. I'm going to say probably not because of the show, but who knows?
Maybe.
And for those of you who don't know Victoria Pratt, because the only reason I know her is from Mutant X, she played Shalimar, which was one of the main roles in Mutant X. And I loved her dearly, even though she was like just an okay actress. And then lo and behold, we have one new writer this week.
Oh.
His name is Tom. And then I wrote this in the car, and it already has a lot of consonants in places they shouldn't
Oh,
go.
good.
Scanta Zorgi is my guess.
Great.
Starts with an S and ends with an I and has all of the other letters in the middle.
Fantastic.
So,
I could not tell you without looking at it.
right. So here's the thing about him.
Okay.
On paper, he wrote all the shows I should like
Okay.
that I've in practice not enjoyed.
Ooh, I hate
Right.
that.
So he wrote Drive, which is the 2007 movie with Ryan Gosling in it.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. It was slow moving, pace was terrible, not a lot happened. It was meant to be very suspenseful, didn't hold up. I didn't care by the end of the movie what happened.
Oh, good.
The Mentalist, which I might like. I have not watched that yet.
The Mentalist is actually pretty good.
I've heard The Mentalist is really good. Lie to Me, I have heard mixed reviews on. I've heard I will mostly like it.
I liked what I saw, but it would never hooked me enough that I like remembered to watch it the next week. But like whenever I did watch an episode, I really liked it.
Right. NYPD Blue, which is like a huge show. I'm guessing he was not one of the main writers on it. I have not seen it.
I love that show so much. I rewatched the entire series from like beginning to end in 2014. And I remember my best friend at the time got mad at me because we stayed in a hotel room and she was like, I couldn't sleep because last night all I could hear was your stupid cop show and you blowing your nose all night. That was the entire night. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, that
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's so funny. He also wrote on CSI Vegas, which is one of the lower end CSIs in my opinion.
Isn't the original one take place in Vegas? Like regular CSI takes place in Vegas. So why would they need a CSI Vegas?
Right. Yes, that is
cool.
a very good question.
Cool.
And Bull, which I have heard has gotten pretty decent reviews. I have not watched it, but it's a newer show.
I don't like it. I've never watched a single episode of it.
Let's start there, yes.
To be fair, my dislike stems entirely from the fact that it is getting that show is one of the reasons why I'm blanking on the actor's name, left NCIS.
Mm-hmm.
He left NCIS because he was getting a starring role and a better salary. So he left
Right.
NCIS, and so I hate it, and I never watched it because I was mad.
Totally fair. Totally fair. So this guy has written all the shows people have told me I should watch. Three of which I don't like. And the others I haven't seen yet. So I don't know.
But to be fair, two of the ones you haven't seen, I have rave reviews about. So
Right. Well, Drive, anyone who wrote Drive, which is not a lot of people because it was one movie,
yeah,
automatically knocked down on my list because I just thought it was that poorly done.
that's fair. I'm trying to think if there's any movie that I just hated that much.
That's the one that always comes to mind. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. That guy.
That guy. I don't think I've ever watched. Oh, no, I have. It was this year's Hallmark movie. It was awful.
What's it called?
Pumpkin everything. Don't fucking watch it.
Oh, goodness gracious. So also before we get into the show, I would like to talk about Marshall Allman, who plays Julian. He is our new cast
Okay.
member. He has, I don't have a lot of like information about him, but he's known for True Blood, Prison Break, Quantum Break, and Wolf of Snow Hollow. I have never heard of Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Me
Um,
either.
I have never seen any of these shows. I've seen like a few episodes of True Blood, and it's one of my shows that I'm probably gonna just go binge because I've read all the books and really liked them. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm so hit or miss on Anna Paquin though, like so hit or miss.
That's fair. That's fair. Sometimes her facial expressions just bother me because I'm like, you don't look like you know what you're talking about right now.
Right. So this guy's done some stuff, and that's why throughout this episode, when he's like, "We're gonna break out, we're gonna do this," it was meant to be like a reference to Prison Break. So, which is like a little too on the nose,
A
but
lot too on the nose
okay.
for me.
But okay. Mr. Wisconsin or Toxicsorgy.
Good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you. No, what else is good? That we start out with Norman's just crazy face and remembering his murders, specifically Blair Watson. So that was
Okay,
always
but that was weird. It was specifically Blair Watson, but also before Blair, he was thinking about his dad
mhm,
and Keith Summers.
mhm.
And I know that the reason Keith is even on that list is because it's the one time he did actually genuinely see his mom kill someone. But that felt weird and uncomfortable
I
to
mean,
go for.
it is, but also like if you think about it in context, Keith Summers was a rapist and assaulted her. Her
Yeah.
husband was violent and attacked her and may or may not have done different kinds of assault. We don't know him that well.
Mhm.
And Blair Watson also was a little assaulty. I mean, she was trying to seduce an underage boy. So like
Oh, for sure.
they all kind of fit in the same category.
It was just the weird, for me, the weird is like if he's thinking that his mom is killing all these people, and in his mind, his mom has killed Blair and Bradley and Annika. That's not her name.
Yeah, it
They
is.
didn't. No, but Annika was not them who killed
They didn't
her.
kill her. No.
No, I was thinking of Emma's mom, but then I was
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But so like in his mind, I just didn't know how Keith, like other than the fact that his mom actually did kill Keith, I was like that was a weird segue.
I think that's why because it was like it was showing just how confused he is in his head. Like he's 100% mixed fact and fiction. Like
Hmm.
and
That's
there's no
fair.
separation at all. It's not even like a weird blur. And it's not like his mom like because when she killed Keith Summers, she was herself, a panicked version of herself, but herself. And these other
Yeah.
he's used to seeing her in a whole different light, but she didn't
Mhm.
seem different in any of the scenes,
Right.
which made it feel a little more probably realistic to him.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's where we start, which is good because it's been 2 weeks since we've seen this show, so it's always good to have a little reminder of who we've killed and where we're at, I guess. Um, because why not? And then his
We'll just start every episode with like a body count.
yes, yes. I don't know what it is right now. Like
Me
seven?
either.
Like, are we counting like body count total? Or are we counting body count just for Norman? Like, we have to
Right.
set boundaries before we can set this rule.
Right.
So,
Because like
yeah, because those are all very different numbers. Yeah.
it
Um. So then his nurse, I don't know his actual role. I think it's the nurse.
is a nurse.
Okay, comes in and he gives him his medication and he's like refusing to take it. He's like, I don't need that. I'm not the crazy one. I need to make a private call. And he's like, yeah, not gonna happen. Like, we don't do that here. And he's like, no, but you don't understand. He's like, look, either way, you're gonna take this. Whether we all have to go around the world and fight about it, it's just easier if you do it.
I
So
love
he,
how
hmm,
like and then because this he does this and then it happens again later, but I love how people are like bargaining with him. They're like, you're gonna take your pills or we're gonna lock you in a room. And based
right.
on how you've reacted to any time you've had to be in a room by yourself for the
No,
entire rest of the time you've been here, probably you're gonna want to take the pills.
exactly. Like that's definitely gonna be better no matter what they do. Like,
Yeah.
so he does, but then he immediately goes to the bathroom and throws them up. So great. Not on medication.
I literally had a thought and I was like, why is he allowed to have a bathroom? And I go, that's fucked up. Like, of course he's allowed to have a bathroom.
Yes, he is allowed. Even prisoners are allowed to have bathrooms. So why is he not better monitored? That's a good question. Yes,
That's
that's a better
probably
question.
that's a better question, but my brain was like, he has a toilet in his room. I was like, what is wrong with me?
Also, don't think he was in his room. I think he was like the local
No,
toilet.
he wasn't. No, his private room had a private bathroom in it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought he had like gone out to the bathroom.
No.
Yes.
Which I was like, but I guess like if you're on meds, a lot of those kind of like psychoactive meds mess with how you go to the bathroom. And so if you're locked in your room overnight, you would have to have a toilet attached to it because you'll probably
um,
have to pee yourself. So like it totally makes sense. But I was like, he has his own bathroom? That's asking for him to do fucking crazy things.
just throw up. There's not a whole lot of other crazy things he's done, specifically that he's done in bathrooms. He's
Just
saved.
watch he watches other people in showers.
Well, yeah, but that's only happened one time so far. So, we're not quite to a psycho level yet. We're still on a baby psycho.
Baby psycho.
Yes. Um, so he's trying like at this point so hard to be normal. He's just like, look, I get it. Everything's not fine, but it's not me. I understand you have to do this. It's like, dude, you're crazy. You're
Correct.
absolutely insane. It is
Yeah.
1000% you, but fine.
Yeah.
So then Julian is like, hey, let's hang out. Let's be friends. And he's just like, no, do not talk to me. And then he's like, wait, you can get me out. And I was like, poor Julian. Like, of course he's got a lot going on in his head. And like, he's annoying and
Yeah.
whatnot, but like, he seems like an okay guy, regardless. Like, he
Yeah.
seems like not a great friend for Norman because he does like enable him a lot.
Yeah,
But
but like he seems like just a genuinely troubled kid, like not like a fucking crazy person. Like
but
I
also,
mean,
like, if you were a normal person, he'd be a good friend to have around, I feel like. Like, if you were,
maybe.
because, like, sure, he's got a lot going on in his head, but, like, at the same time, if you're stuck in this, like, insane asylum against your will, and that's who you have to hang out with, that's probably who I choose.
Yeah.
Like, when he's on his meds and when he's in his, like, in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
side,
yeah.
he seems fine, just a little annoying. So,
Yeah.
um, so he tells him he can get him a secret phone call, and he does.
Okay,
And yes.
my problem with this was what the fuck door opens with a butter knife?
Um, my my old bedroom door, you could sometimes open with like a butter knife if it's like a push button. Or like sometimes like I would it's like the same thing of like using a credit card to open a door. And if it's like a an older building like
But a butter knife would be a credit card is thinner. A butter knife, getting in the crack between the two, a butter knife is going to be too thick.
well, that's
And
what I'm saying. If
also,
there was like if it was older, made like the it was a little more spacing in the door,
you
maybe.
would think with that fucking how expensive that place looks that they'd have a little better security on their doors.
You'd think they'd have a little bit more people watching their patients with the amount of money it costs too, but here we are. So I don't put anything past them.
Fair.
So I was like, I get it. It happens. Um, and then so he gets his phone call and he calls Dylan because everyone calls Dylan when they're in trouble.
Right.
And he's like, Dylan, what's happening? He's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? He's like, yeah, but like, just listen, because I don't have a lot of time. Some police are gonna show up, and some bad things are gonna go down for mother. So could you like be there? Also, I'm gonna be there because I'm getting out today. And he's like, I don't think so. And he's like,
And D
yeah, no, I am.
no, Dylan's like, can I have the name of your doctor?
Right. He's like, should I talk to someone? And he's like, no, why aren't you listening? And he's like, no, it's fine. Are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. Never mind. Never mind.
Right.
Like,
And
okay.
and I was like, first of all, you're talking in riddles, Norman, because
Yes.
you don't want Julian to overhear you. Fine. But like also Dylan, stop trying to understand his riddles. Like
Right.
you're aware that he's a psycho. Just like
Yeah.
leave it.
Right. Like it's so insane. Poor Dylan. That was my next one. Just poor Dylan. And also now I'm concerned because he says he's getting out today and he is very confident. I thought, oh my gosh, he might actually get out today. Like released out today.
I don't believe anything that he confidently says ever.
I don't either, but I do always believe the worst first for the show.
Fair.
And that
Fair,
would be
fair,
the worst
fair.
thing that could happen today is for them to just be like, yeah, you know what? You're cured. It's fine. So I'm just like, surely not. But then we go to the credits. Um, and when we come back, we open with Norma and Alex. And we are in a fairy tale
Alex.
from here on out. So although Norma is like doesn't understand how like intimacy works. And like they had their first night together, so she like immediately gets up and it's just like, I'm gonna cook you dinner, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna set everything up for you. And then he tries to like come in and like give her a hug and a kiss, and she's like, no, I can't do this. It's like, and she like looks terrified of him. And I was like,
Which, to be fair, when has she had a healthy relationship? Has she ever had a man who didn't like beat her?
well, that is totally fair. It's just Alex.
I
She's the
know.
one manipulating
Like,
him.
I know, but when he like goes to hold her hand at the breakfast table, I was like, why are you incapable of being even in the same country as normal?
I
Like,
know. Ugh, she's just like losing her mind. But she's trying to like
yeah,
play the perfect wife role,
yeah.
which is it's just a whole lot of issues going on in her head.
Of course, he also has some issues, in my opinion, because in why, in order to appear normal, did you immediately jump to a joint checking account?
Absolutely. That was my next note. Like Alex was just like, we should totally have a joint checking account. And I was like, what is so my next note says, what if Alex is really the evil one? Like, totally fair. She doesn't have any money. He knows
Hmm.
that. But
Yeah.
he's got a lot of illegal money. And what if he like implicated her for something? What if he's using her to like make it seem like he's not involved in other stuff? I don't
See,
want to believe the worst of him because I love
I
him.
immediately jumped to a very different conclusion.
Hmm.
And I jumped to the conclusion that he did it specifically to make it clear to Rebecca that things are over with them.
I mean, I think that's like the actual reason, but my brain came up with a lot of other reasons.
Which is fair because in the show you never know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so Alex is like, we should totally like go out tonight. And like he's trying so hard to be like
I was
real
like, he
married.
just wants to be with you.
Yeah. He like wants to
And
be real married to her, not fake married.
well, and she's so dumb because she's talking about Emma and Dylan, and she's like, it's funny how some people are just not together at all, and then suddenly they are, which I also like felt in my soul a little bit because like
Mhm.
even like a week before I started dating Dan, I would have told you that I hated him.
Right. I
Like,
think we did.
yeah, probably. And then like I literally was like, I definitely don't love him, but like I like him. And then like 3 days later, I was like, nope, I'm gonna marry him. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So like
quick
a
turnaround.
very quick turnaround on that one.
Yes.
So I get it. But then he like smiled and like went to hold her hand and she was like like dinosaur armed.
Awkward, bless her heart. And so he's trying to take her out for the winter party. What is it called? Winter
I don't
festival.
know. The the
And
the Christmas Snowflake holiday party festival concert carnival.
yes,
I don't know.
that
All
entire name.
of
And she's like, I'm going to see Emma. I was like, okay, so now you're finally going to see Emma after everything. Like, she's like survived now. Like, she's just kind of like in
maybe she
recovery.
was just worried about her immune system and she needed to wait till she was cleared to add an extra person to the hospital.
She very much wasn't. It is Norma Bates. She only does things for selfish reasons.
Shh.
Oh,
Just
okay. Sorry, I didn't know that was a secret.
I'm just trying to see the best in people.
Right, right. Well, good luck then, because that is not where the show goes most of the time, except this episode.
Except for this episode.
This is like, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's the weirdest episode I've ever watched of Bates.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
we have, yes,
We have the are we moving away from them?
no, not entirely. We're
Okay,
following
good.
Norma. So we go to this car scene with Norma, and it is a beautiful scene of Norma in the car, and you can just see pure joy on her face, and it's like the most relaxing
She
music
looks
is
so
playing.
happy. But also, okay, I don't know if you noticed,
Mhm.
but as she's walking to the car, the neon lights are flickering. But the word motel isn't. It's only the word Bates that is flickering.
I did not notice that.
And it's like the moment where she's like actually deciding to be married to Alex for real, for real. And the lights are flickering only on the name Bates. And then she sits in her car and smiles. And I was like,
I think that's the only time that we've seen Norma feel like actual joy.
like a human, feel like a fucking human.
Yes. And I thought that scene was really beautifully shot
It was
because
also just like a gorgeous shot.
it was like the angles, the lighting.
So like she looked and the way it like the half window that you have. Oh, it was beautiful.
Yes, that is like it's one of my favorite scenes we've seen that's like hasn't been an homage.
No, it reminded me of like um cologne commercials, like the way
Yes, the older ones though, because I just saw a commercial today for Paco Rabanne and or Paco Rabanne. I'm not really sure how you say the word, and it was incredibly done. It is like, but they used a hip hop. You know that song? It's
no.
like I can't
Sorry.
song, but it's I'm trying to think of like more words.
I am sorry, but when you said that, I know that there's an actual rap song that you're talking about, but my brain went to the scene in Big Daddy where Rob Schneider can't read and he says a heap hop, anonymous.
Very different. Very different things. Your sound goes out when you lean back.
Oh
Like,
no.
I just heard it. That one sentence I didn't hear. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was also like laughing. So that was probably part of it. But why would that be in a cologne commercial was my question.
Look, they've done a lot of things in commercials that I don't understand.
Fair.
we get working in music publishing, we get briefs all the time for commercials. They're like, this is what our commercial is about, and this is the kind of music we're going to use. And I'm like, first of all, none of that makes sense. The commercial doesn't make sense. The music doesn't make sense. This is wild. We would love for you to like pay for this and use it because it's not offensive. It just doesn't make sense.
It's not offensive, but it does not make sense.
Right. So,
Oof, story of my life.
that is not always the story of your life.
No, unfortunately, it definitely falls into offensive more than I like it.
It's fine. It's fine though.
We're good. We're great.
Yeah. Speaking of offensive things, we go back to Norman. And he's being very rude to the guy with dementia. And I was very mad at him.
Yeah.
This guy's like, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Dickie. And he's like, we've met. And he's like, I don't think so. And he's like, twice yesterday and once today. And he's like, I don't think so. And he's just like so mean.
Yeah.
Like those, I feel like maybe it's a personal upsetting, but like I feel like dementia patients and Alzheimer's patients are like the meanest people to mess with.
Yes.
Because they have no idea and they like
yeah.
No. So very sad.
It's also according to the most recent season of Grey's Anatomy, which I do understand is not a scientific paragon, but they do try to use accurate research when they state scientific facts most of the time. According to the newest season of Grey's Anatomy, it's actually worse for their brain to try to argue with them.
Yes.
You're supposed to just give in to their delusion because it helps at least like stabilize whatever neurons are working.
Yes, we've been told that like it's good to talk about things to help with remembering, but if it's clear they're not going to remember it, it just weakens their brain. It makes them upset and they get angry and they get sad and it makes them like it makes their brains work even worse. So like
yeah,
you have to just kind of go with it. Like well, especially when they're like in one of their like states.
Yeah.
So yeah, super fun topic. But also fun is Norman keeps avoiding his group because he's like, oh no, I'm leaving today. And the guy's like, okay, well come with me anyways. He's like, no, I don't think you understand. You don't understand at all what's happening. And I was like, you're just being rude to everyone.
He's
like
he was being so rude. And I was like, you're not being released, bro. If you were, you would, they'd already know. Everyone would know. That's how those facilities work.
The whole world would know if you were getting released. Don't worry. Norma would have told them all. And if anybody else did. And then Dr. Edwards shows up, thankfully. He is God bless that man.
I have the number of times that I wrote, oh, poor sweet Dr. Edwards.
Right. So true. And he's like, Norman, let's go talk. Let's see what's going on. And he was like, I just want you to know, like, we're following up on this. He's like, but that's not my priority. That's the police's priority. He's like, you're my priority. Like, your mom, they're looking into it. Don't worry. All of that is following through. It's just not me. And Norman loses. I'm like, what did you expect? Even if he was actually believing you, this is still the process it would take.
Yeah, I was like, poor Dr. Edwards, you just triggered him and now he will kill someone. Thank you so much.
Right. But he doesn't trust anyone now because God forbid this poor helpless boy. It's always
we did skip a little scene between that though because Dr. Edwards says they're going to talk and then before they actually show them talking, they show us another scene.
Which one?
On the roof of the hospital.
Oh no, that one happens next. That's they have like one brief moment before they go into the full.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, they have.
I skipped a little bit into the next scene, but
because that's which is fine. I was just like, because it is continuous, but then they throw something in the middle,
and that something is Emma and Dylan, our saviors of this show. Bless them both, and they are just the cutest. Like they're walking up to the hospital roof, and Dylan's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you need a break?" Like. That was
so many stairs.
And she's like, yes, I'm fine now. Like, I have lungs that work. Like, it's okay. And I'm also supposed to, like, working my legs, which, like, yes, when you've been laid up, that's what you're supposed to do.
Correct.
So, and then out of seemingly nowhere, Emma's like, well, now that I can like survive and do things in my life, I think I'm gonna move for college. And just like ask Dylan to move with her. And he's just like, if you want me to move with you, I'll move with you.
And I was like,
You're a bird, I'm a bird.
before when she was just like, I think we're gonna go to Seattle because the respiratory center's there. And he looked so upset. I go, Dylan, Seattle's not that fucking far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's a couple hour drive, sure, but like you could make it work. And then I go, and also, why the fuck are you staying here?
Right. Like, get out while you can.
You want to sell the farm, you don't want to sell weed anymore. You hate your brother's locked up, your mother's cuckoo.
Your brother's also cuckoo, but also locked up.
Well, like, okay.
Yeah, no, get out while you can.
Yeah.
And I just put stop, Dylan. I love him. And she's so healthy now. Like she can like breathe and stuff. Ugh. It's so adorable. I love it so much.
I love that that's your measure of healthy, that they can breathe.
Look, as someone with asthma who can't breathe sometimes, that is a great level of healthy. Like if I am breathing, I am surviving.
Well, that is actually scientifically accurate.
Also, on a complete side tangent, I have not watched Game of Thrones. I have not watched House of Dragons, etc., etc. Olivia Cook, who plays our lovely Emma,
Yeah.
is
In House of
fire
Dragons.
in House of Dragons. I've just seen her looks, and she is fire. So everyone should watch that. I'll watch it one day. But everyone else should watch that. And
You know
so-
the TikTok sound? You don't. I don't know how much time you actually go on TikTok where they're like, so what's your drink of choice? It's a Negroni. You know that TikTok
okay.
sound?
So I only know that sound because I work at a bar. And these dumb girls who work at Bank of America and come in all the time and annoy me ordered their Negroni Spagliotti. And I understood because I haven't watched anything. I don't know any of this.
Yeah.
I understood that it was a regular Negroni with Prosecco.
Prosecco. Yeah.
Apparently, it's meant to be a Negroni made with Prosecco instead of gin.
Yes.
I did all of the above, but I charged them for all of the above too, and nobody said anything. So, and I asked them, I was like, okay, I was like, isn't this the one that's like popular on TikTok where it's like you have a regular Negroni and they put just Prosecco on top? And they were like, yeah, yeah. So I gave them what they
It's because
wanted.
they don't know what they're talking about.
I know.
They're just copying this TikTok sound. But the TikTok sound originated from an interview with Olivia Cook.
Yes, yes. I did. I learned more about it. Don't worry. But it translates to broken Negroni, which I think is cute.
Yeah.
And I might would like it better than an actual Negroni because I'm not a huge gin fan. But I
hate
don't like
gin,
Aperol
yeah.
Spritz, so like I probably wouldn't like it because basically the same thing.
I love Prosecco.
I don't love an orange flavor, and that's what Aperol Spritz is. So make a good one. Don't enjoy drinking that much though. But yeah, so support her in all of the things she does. Bless Olivia
Yes.
Cook. Anyways,
Plus
Yes.
Matt Smith is also in House of Dragons.
oh yes, yes. Also support Matt Smith because we love him. If we haven't
Yes.
spent enough time since last
Correct.
time. So. We go back to Norman and Dr. Edwards again, and they're having that conversation I was just talking about. Norman is being hella dramatic because what other way does he know to be?
Correct.
And I don't know what the thought process is in the next scene, but he like walks up to the guy guarding the front door and just tries to walk out. I was like, on what planet did you think that would work? Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go out this way. And he's like, no, you absolutely cannot. And he's like, no, yeah, I am. And it's like, this man is like twice your size, if not bigger. You're absolutely not walking out the front door. Like,
I mean, to be fair, he has for how many years watched his mother just tell people she was going to do absolutely fucking ridiculous things and then do it.
okay, but she also kind of like seduces them to do it, and he isn't about to seduce them. So
Can you imagine him seducing that security guard?
oh my gosh, they would just lock him up immediately. They'd be like, I don't even know what you're doing here, you child. Go back to your room.
Weirdo.
Yeah. So that didn't work, obviously.
Obviously.
So Julian's like, dude, look, I got this. Let's break out tonight. We're gonna go.
Julian's an idiot.
And I was like, oh Jesus Christ. I was like, we're gonna actually break out now. So because unfortunately I have more faith in Julian than I'd like to. I wish he wasn't as successful as he has been. Um, we have a brief moment with Emma and Norma, sorry. And it's kind of precious because they've always, even though Norma's crazy, Norma and Emma have always had a precious relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like talking about Dylan, and she's like, "Do you think Norman will matter like mine?" And she's like, "Oh no, everything's fine. Like, you guys are great." And like, she's just like giving her blessing. She thinks it's the sweetest thing. And then she's like, obviously, it like shook up that whole Norman thing. And Emma just like says all the right stuff. And I was
Yeah,
like,
she's like, you're absolutely doing the right thing, and for once you can stop worrying and just take care of yourself.
right. I was like, Emma's so great about this whole thing. Like, she's a real person here. Like,
Yes.
and she's it like this scene makes it make so much sense why her and Dylan are together.
Yeah.
Because they're the only two that like say the right thing and mostly do the right thing.
Right.
Like, I mean, nobody's perfect, but
No,
they're
but
pretty close based on the rest of the world in this show.
fair.
So then we go back to Alex, who receives essentially an SOS text from Rebecca. And she's like, "We got to meet." So he goes down to the bank. And she's just straight up like, "Did you kill Bob Paris?" I was like, what is with these people who are just so blatantly like, "I'm just gonna do this and it's gonna work out." Like, have you never met anyone before in your life? Do you know how
Yeah.
anything works out?
I was like, this bitch is gonna ruin everything.
Ugh, she is. I mean, she is. I've decided, so it's okay. We don't have to like let that go or anything. But so he's like, I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. Alex never really lies.
That's the
He's
thing.
another one.
He's
He
another one.
doesn't
He definitely avoids talking.
absolutely just like Dylan.
Mm, does lie later. It made me mad when he lied.
Well,
We'll get there.
he does lie sometimes, but not always. So then she's telling him that his most of Bob's money is in a security deposit box, and the bank has a key, and only Bob has the key. So whoever killed him has the key. And I was like, oh, that wasn't the majority of Bob's money that he has. I was like, okay, that's a lot. And
Mhm.
but yeah, I was like, so he definitely has the key. I mean, he says he doesn't, obviously, but he like definitely does.
Yeah.
So we go back to Norma for a second, and this was the complete opposite of the car scene. There
Mhm.
was so much dark lighting, and with her like just kind of wandering around, and I was like, something bad's gonna happen. Like, this feels like a setup for we had the happy peak moment in the beginning, the lightness, and now we've gotten the sad and darkness again.
The
And
problem
so,
is, I missed that scene completely. I was taking a note and didn't even see
oh,
it.
it was very brief, and it like
Yeah.
that's why this episode was so confusing because it had so many happy, we're gonna be fine scenes, but very subtle, everything's wrong and everything's about to end scenes.
But
Like,
then there wasn't really like payoff on those, which doesn't mean
next
that there can't
episode,
be. I was gonna say that doesn't mean that there can't be.
right? I'm
Yeah.
I'm expecting the next episode to kind of like hit the fan. Um, and then we go back to Norman and Julian, and again, Julian is kind of a genius. He's stopped up a toilet for a guy who has OCD.
Oh wait, no. We
Yes,
skipped one scene.
which one?
We skipped nor Alex comes back to the house
Oh yeah,
and he immediately goes down to well, first he calls for
Norma.
Norma in the house, and I'm like, she told you she was going to Portland, you dummy. She's not there. Which, to be fair, he knows she's a liar. So like,
Of course, yeah.
but then he goes to the basement and he starts breaking open all his secret money packets to see if the key is in there. And I was so mad at him for doing that. I was like, you could have just left well enough alone. Like, you don't want to get involved with Rebecca. You don't want to be a part of this. You have the money.
You
And
have
granted it's not 3 million, but it's money.
it looks like it's enough to go on though.
You should have just left well enough alone. And I was angry. And then we also get a quick scene of Norma before we get back to Norman
That's
and
the one that's
Julian.
very dark. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, see, I didn't think that was dark at all.
Really?
She was like wearing dress, like looking at the dresses and figuring out what to do. And then she looked at a really sad picture of Norman. And
Mhm.
then she put the picture in the desk drawer and shut the drawer. And I was like, no, yes, you're gonna go to the ball, do it. Like,
Yes.
yay. I was so
She
happy
was.
for her.
The lighting was just darker, and it seemed like we were going back in the. Maybe it was just a different opinion. Maybe it was a different take
I
on
don't,
it.
oh yeah, because I didn't realize that that was what you were talking about because I didn't see that scene as
Right.
dark.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
I
sense.
mean, the lighting was darker,
Mhm.
but it was more like
I mean, the emotion
bedside
was
table.
dark. Yeah,
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 it was more like just like bedside table melancholy, like the decision to actually be okay with letting go of
yeah,
Norman.
yeah. It's just they play around with light so much in this show that anytime the
Yeah,
light gets darker, I'm like, something bad's about to happen. Like, we're in a bad place.
I mean, her bad place was saying fuck it.
Right. And like, good for her. Good riddance.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so Norman and Julian, they cause a commotion. I'm sorry, I keep like kicking the cord of my computer and turning everything around. So then they just get out like nothing ever happened. They cause this
Except for,
commotion. The woman runs away. They take her card, her pass to get out, and then they like pull off like a vent.
yeah, Norman was incapable of looking cool though.
Oh
Like
my god.
Julian's just like waiting, and Norman is like so awkward. I was like, y'all are gonna get caught just because he doesn't know how to stand.
Right, right. And but surprisingly, they don't. They make it all the way out and just
Yep.
climb out the window and are on their way. And I was like, great, that's great. Good
Right.
there. Um, and then on another good note, Alex gets a call from the DEA who is still investigating Bob's murder, and they finally start asking about Rebecca.
This is where I got angry
Mm-hmm.
because it would have been so easy for Alex to be like, yeah, I had a casual fling with her, but then I started seeing someone and it ended and it was never romantic. It was just sexual. So I don't know a lot about her personal life, but because that's not a lie.
Right.
Saying he was only professional with her, as soon as anything ever gets caught up that they talk about anything not professional, he's fucked.
Immediate, and that's going to immediately happen. Like,
And I was so mad
touching
because I was
set
like,
up.
the truth doesn't implicate you.
Right, right. Like, you don't have to lie. Like,
I
you could
mean,
say,
to be
like,
fair, like, yes, he knows about her money laundering.
well, yeah,
He knows more about the Bob situation than he should have. I get it. But lying about a sexual relationship is so difficult because that's so easy to find out.
right. And like, so many people like know their like significant other or know their best friend, and they've ended up like committing all kinds of crimes they never knew about. Like,
Right. So you can admit that
multiple
you
deniability.
casually slept with someone and not know that they're money laundering.
Right, exactly. And so I agree. That also drove me a little crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then we go back to Norman and Julian who have escaped their prison that was actually not that bad. Um, and they're now trying to hitchhike, and we start seeing Julian in a bit of a different light. He's a little more manic, very, very mildly at this point, but you see him try to portray someone who's bipolar. And while it's not
Yeah.
quite as extreme as he made it out to be, he would be like, everything's fine. Oh my God, I hate this person. Everything's fine. I was like, okay, well, it's not quite that way,
Well, it's not.
but okay. Um, yeah, so then I was like, yeah, Julian definitely has some mental disorders that are not being addressed correctly now that he's escaped. We learn a few things about him. His family are all musicians, and it seems very rich. Because they just give him money all the time, which is how he has all of this money to escape and do whatever he wants with. And so whatever he wants. So like even Norman is concerned about his mental health at this point.
All
He's
right.
like, dude, maybe we should like, I don't know,
Not.
be careful. And he's like, no, no, everything's fine. We're okay. And then he's taking him to a strip club.
Okay, so first, when they get in a car with a stranger, I go, God, I hope Norman gets killed. And then I was like, just kidding, I know that's not gonna happen, unfortunately. But then I go, oh, good. Strippers. Norman's favorite type of woman.
Right. So my next note says, "Oh, good, he's going to kill someone." Because so
Yes.
far, every like sexual relationship he's been in, they've
Murder.
been murdered, aside from Emma,
And
who
Cody.
wasn't, and Cody, but he still killed
He,
someone because of
he
her.
killed her dad. Yeah, he
Right. It
didn't
wasn't
kill
like
her, he just killed her dad.
murder wasn't off the table. It just wasn't as direct there. So, nothing good happens.
Wow.
So I was like, great, this is what's gonna happen. And then we go to the Winter Festival and we see that Norma, yes.
My first note just says those umbrellas were so cute.
Okay, to be fair, very cute. Very cute.
Everything about the Winter Festival made my heart soar.
It made me think of like the Gilmore Girls town whenever it's set up for like the holiday, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. And like
And
every Hallmark Christmas
right.
movie.
Yeah. So that's exactly what it was for this like 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. I keep messing with I spilled Coke on my computer. Oh, and now it's like
Doing things.
doing weird things, and now I've lost my Zoom and my pad isn't working. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
Come back
Um,
to me.
while you're figuring that out, I will say that there Alex has like the cutest moment where he sees Norma and he's like, "You look beautiful," and he's so excited that she's like there to be his wife, and they're doing all the cute like big shot in town couple
Hmm.
things, and they're drinking hot toddies and eating funnel cakes, and then Rebecca shows up
Ugh. And you know
and
it's like
to
all
talk
memories from
to
there.
Norma, and it's clearly like jealous AF.
Right, right.
And I was like, she's so skeevy and I hate her.
Ugh. She is my least favorite. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Great. I can't see anything, but it's fine. We're gonna keep going. I'll figure out my computer later.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is our Hallmark movie, and Rebecca showed up, and I was like, she's going to do something crazy. Like,
Yeah.
she's only there for bad
She's
reasons.
like single white woman obsessed with Norma
Oh
Bates
my
right
gosh.
now.
Absolutely. And like, oh, there's my Zoom's coming. Oh, okay. Everything's fine. My computer is panicking. Um, so she's so Norma obviously can tell that there's um
Something. Something
something
up
going
right
on
there.
with Rebecca, which is like,
Hmm.
I mean, there is.
Yes.
And he's like, you don't know, it was just casual. You remember there were other people before, obviously, like
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. And then we have this really sweet scene where they're like dancing and everything's going really well, very smoothly. They're both so happy. And I was like, poor Norma is getting her hopes up.
Okay. Okay. Here's the thing. He was like, that was all before I met you. And he's like, do you remember when I first met you? And she said, my heart stopped. Mostly because I thought you were going to arrest
Yeah.
me.
I was like, very fair.
And then he
Very
was like,
fair.
but now it's all okay. And it's all going to be okay. And I was like, God, I just wish it was going to be
I
okay.
know. I was like, oh, everything is about to die. That's fine. That's fine, I guess. Alex is gonna die next. Um, everything has to be ruined. You know it
Yes.
is. So, um, it's gonna be Alex or Emma, and Emma hasn't been enough in this episode for it to be her, I feel like.
Right.
So, but not yet. We can keep our hopes up because it hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
And next we go to Norman. And they're at the strip club, and it just reminds us how naive Norman actually is.
Hmm.
Bless his heart. So his friend's like, let's get a dance. Here's all of this money I have from my rich parents, blah, 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 blah. And he like goes off to a private room. And so Norman's just like super awkwardly chilling. So the dancer comes up and asks for him. He's like, let's go to a secret room. He's like, well, what do you do there? She's like, anything, anything
Anything
you
you
want.
want.
And he's like, oh, okay. Like, has no idea what's happening. Like, poor sweet baby angel, but like also psychopath. So,
Ooh, yeah.
so he goes in there and like, things start happening and he like pulls a screwdriver out of his pocket. I was like, that's not uncomfortable at all. I was like,
Which,
at least he
here's the
kills
thing.
someone.
When he put the screwdriver in his pocket when they were still at the
Mhm.
at Pineview, I was like, oh, he's gonna murder somebody later.
Right.
And then he pulls it out of his pocket when he's alone with the stripper, and I go, saw that coming. But then I
Yes.
was wrong.
I know they got us because they put all of the elements together that we're so used to of anyone who he's been sexual with has caused violence. Anytime he's had just like a convenient weapon near him, he's used it as a weapon. And we have all of these matters together and he doesn't do anything. I mean, okay. He doesn't do anything violent, let's say.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he still flips into Norma, and he
Right.
gets a little aggressive with her,
Yeah.
with
And
the
that's
stripper.
because he started visualizing Blair in her, which totally
Yes.
tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and I just put poor Athena because she has no idea what's going on.
No.
And I thought it was another great transition scene from Norman to Norma. Like
Hmm.
every time it's flawless. And
Yes.
we probably say it too much, but can you really say it too much? Like if it's great, it's great, you
Yeah.
know? And so she thinks he's just a cross dresser. And she's like, here, why don't you like try on clothes? Like, because that's a kink. And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And he has no like he doesn't know any different. He thinks he's Norma. And so he's like, yeah, of course
Yeah.
I'll this up. And oh my gosh, I'm just like this whole scene has me on edge. I'm like, when is he going to stab her with a screwdriver? And instead, Julian loses his mind. And I was like, thank God.
It starts screaming.
Yes. And it didn't take Norman out of Norma, but it took Norman out of the room.
Hmm.
And he tried to like stand up for Julian and be like, everything's okay, get off of him, blah, 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 blah. And then they end up punching him in the face and knocking him down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I go, maybe the stripper won't be the one to die.
I know. I was like, okay, we have been thrown off. No one has died yet. Um, and then we go back to Norma and Alex, who are getting physical again after their romantic interlude at the Winter Festival. Except we learn that the house has been ransacked.
But it was still so hot and heavy. And she like went to turn the light on because she was like, because the night before when they did it, she was sad and they did it in the
Yeah.
dark. But now she's like happy and accepting that she's married to him. And she goes, I want to be able to see you. And she turns on the light and then their house is just fucking destroyed. And I was
Chaos.
like, I
Maybe you shouldn't have turned on the light yet, but fine. I mean,
was like, the actual fuck.
yeah. And that's really one of the first scenes I feel like where things have gone wrong for them.
Yeah.
Like, which is very strange for the show. Um,
Mhm.
and then of course we have to go back to Norman. And he is sitting in an ambulance because he is injured from being punched in the face and knocked out. And Dr. Edwards shows up to pick him up. And he's taking him back to Pineview. And I know you're not comfortable with everything. He's like, but you have to let me help you. He's like, Julian, I've been working with him for so long and he just won't let me help him.
Mhm.
And Norman breaks down and he's like, if you can help me, do whatever you need to do.
Well, the thing is, so when he's in the ambulance, he asks Dr. Edwards, where am I?
Oh, yeah.
And he tells him because he blacked out and he didn't know where he was. He goes, did something bad happen? And Edwards is like, well, if you mean did someone get hurt, like other than you and Julian, no. And he was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, like you're fine. You didn't do anything. So now he's like second guessing everything because all these other times that he's blacked out, somebody's died.
Right.
And now he didn't, but he's also not with his mom. So then he's like, maybe my mom's the one who's a problem. Like he's going through so many things. And then he asked Dr. Edwards, just like, honestly, do you think my mom killed anyone? And he goes, I really genuinely don't.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know what I trust. I don't know what is real, and I don't want to feel like this anymore. And he's like, and I don't know if you can help me, but if you can, please.
Yeah.
I was like crying. I was like, that is fucking heartbreaking.
Right.
Because Brianna actually commented on the YouTube channel the other day because we had said something a couple weeks ago about like being just like it was the episode where we were like fully done with Norman and we are like he straight up gives me the ick. I'm done with him. I don't want anything to do with him. And she commented on it and she was like she was like you're not wrong except for that like I still feel bad for Norman because like he genuinely doesn't know what's going on in his
Yeah.
head. And like this
True.
was the moment where I was like, oh,
Yeah. But on that note, we end with a weird, hopeful episode and ending. We know it's not going to go well, but it doesn't feel that way with the end of the episode. We have
right.
Alex and Norma are finally together and found happiness. Norman is finally admitting to getting some help, and Emma and Dylan are getting ready to start their lives together. Like, what more do you
What?
want? Like, that's the happy ending we've all been looking for.
And that's why people hate season 4.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Um, but I don't have any trivia for you
Oh,
per se.
that's sad.
However, I have a little snippet that I've pulled up for you. And by pulled up, I meant I did the other day and then forgot and closed it. But it will take me like 3 seconds to find it. So I received this book, and by received, I bought it with my money.
Yes.
100 American horror films. I got it at City of Light Books, which is super great. And it just talks about 100 American horror films. And I've seen a few of them. It has Psycho in here, obviously, and it
Obviously.
has a couple other ones. But the one I'm going to read from today is a little fun fact from Halloween, which is a movie we have watched in the past and discussed. I don't know if I was
Yes.
on that one or not, but it was discussed on this podcast.
Yes.
Um, and this is a fun fact for you. Sorry. So, okay. I'm so sorry. Carpenter's score provides an insistently rhythmic soundtrack of a few notes judiciously placed that emphasizes the discussion in school about the inflexibility of fate. The moment also when Laurie Strode first sees Michael through the classroom window. But it is Michael, not metaphysics, that determines destiny. He is mystified as evil by, of all people, his psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis. And this Dr. Loomis, and for those of you who don't remember, was meant to be a reference to John Gavin's character in the original Psycho movie, whose name was Sam Loomis. And he played Marion Crane's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So everything comes back to Psycho in horror.
Sure.
And
Sure.
but yeah, and he was described as an it, as pure evil, the boogeyman, denying any psychoanalytic or ideological explanation for the killer's murderous madness, unlike Psycho.
You know, you said everything comes back to Psycho. I have a weird Psycho fact also.
Excellent. I love a weird Psycho fact.
So in Cruella,
Okay.
in the scene where Estella is working in the hotel and she like starts daydreaming and she's watching TV and then Jasper and Horace are like, bro, we gotta get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
She is watching a different Hitchcock movie. I don't remember which one it is, but what movie is it? She's watching a Hitchcock movie where the main character it like basically has a breakdown and like she loses everything and then she just starts cracking up. Um Lifeboat is the name of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in film and see, and the actress is Tallulah Bankhead, and she like loses her mind and starts laughing when like crazily when she loses everything, and she's actually the inspiration for the animated version of Cruella. But during the scene while she's watching Hitchcock and it's like foreshadowing like her mania as everything gets torn apart from her, she's wearing a name tag in the hotel. And the name tag says Norma.
I love it. Ugh. Ah, ugh. I love it.
Yes. So everything goes back to Psycho.
It does. Ugh. Yes. That's excellent. So, while not directly part of this series, there are your trivia for our Psycho today.
Fantastic.
And on that note, who would you like to punch in the face?
Julian.
Great choice. Great choice.
Yeah.
He was my second choice, however.
Okay.
I picked Rebecca.
That's fair because she was my second choice.
Yes. While she hasn't actively done anything yet, it is very clear that she is like gearing up to do terrible things. So
Yes. Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm on edge about her, and I definitely think she's gonna do some people in.
I think my logic was just that I'm sure I will punch her at some point, but I'm not sure I'll get a chance to punch Julian again.
No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. That's a good point because he does need to be punched.
Yeah.
Or just he just needs to be medicated consistently. So who is your MVP then?
Honestly, Norma.
Okay, tell me more.
Because she, for once, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but for once, she is living in something other than guilt. She is actually trying to figure out who she is outside of being a mother because she was so young when she got pregnant with Dylan, and she never lived life as anything other than an abuse victim or a mother. She never has been just who is Norma, and she's trying to figure that out, and she's letting herself breathe.
Yep.
And like I said, I don't think it's gonna last, but just seeing her be okay with
life for
being okay with life and being okay with knowing that other people can fix her problems better than she can.
Yes, and letting them.
Yeah. So that's why today I choose Norma.
Totally fair. I picked Dr. Edwards.
That's a great choice.
I think every therapist should be like him. He is so good at talking with people.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't overstepped yet.
Nope.
He is only focused on the professional aspect, and he has done everything correct.
And he has, when, like, the one thing that he said that I thought was like so good was like, Norman was like, "You don't believe me," and he was like, "I believe that you believe that's what's happening."
Right.
He's like, I don't think you're lying to me. I just don't think that that's what happened.
Right.
And my job is to help you figure out the difference.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes.
Yes, good on him.
Yep.
But yeah, if you have any wild speculations about any of these people, do you have any predictions? I just said random predictions throughout the episode, so sorry I didn't.
It's fine. I mean, all of the clouds of joy that I'm living on will be popped quickly and rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's true. Yeah, well, if you have any predictions, if you have any comments or have any thoughts, if you watch this episode, you have thoughts.
Absolutely.
So please tell them to us. You can email us, deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at ENKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for Sci-Fi Sunday.
Happy Thanks. Nope, I lied.
We're
Happy
a week
Thanksgiving.
A
We're a
week
week behind. So a week ago was Thanksgiving. Just kidding.
Yay.
Happy December. Goodbye.
Happy December.